This is Snakes and Otters, a pointless discussion of eternal questions. Get ready. We're about to live in your head rent-free.
Welcome, Otterites. I'm Brother Andre, and we bring to you today episode 249, or Code of Honor.
I am Martin.
And I'm Robert.
I'm Francis.
I'm Marcus.
All right.
We're
Brother Andre always gets his name in first when he hosts.
Well, with you all, I have to, or I won't.
There are days. Yes, there are days.
Anyways.
Coming to you from Studio A in the library, we welcome you to Code of Honor. Today,
Absolutely love it in here. Yes, we're talking about the magnificence of the abode
And
how well
Brother Andre even has served us custom ice cubes.
He has. We didn't mention that in the last episode.
Yeah,
Yes.
I wanted to make sure we get that
Yeah.
in. I don't want to forget about it.
it was a wonderful Facebook post that advertisement that I saw where you could customize your ice cubes. So we are now in our drinks where our bourbon is chilling with Snakes and Otters ice cubes.
Yes, it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing.
Amen, brother. Sister?
Yes, and you're drinking out of your Snakes and Otters glass.
I am indeed. I think that it should become a prerequisite that we bring our own glasses to each venue.
They'll get broken.
I'll get,
they'll get broken.
I'm clumsy. I'll
Well,
break it.
Well, what we need to do is, not be cheap and buy 5 more for each house.
There we
Yeah.
go. There's the solution.
Yeah.
But anyway, as we were doing our show prep, we got into a lively discussion.
It wasn't even show prep. It was an organic discussion that
Yeah.
The
grew.
future of Catholicism.
Of at least
We could have written a book out of all that.
Oh, we could, yeah.
Might have gotten in trouble for it though at points.
Well, that's why we have nom du pods.
That's correct. That's right.
we've actually probably spent the last 40 minutes in this discussion prior to hitting the record button on this. But
Yeah,
and I'm sure with the quote that I've selected for
we
today,
might get back to it.
we may
Yes.
we may circle back to it. So I would like to reveal our quote. I've given it to the Brotherhood for reflection prior to arrival today. And the quote comes from St. John Paul II, one of my favorite leaders. And the quote is, "The more ready you are to give yourself to God and to others, the more you discover the authentic meaning of life." So we are going to tackle the world's oldest question, what is the meaning of life? Looking at it through the lens of Catholicism and servitude.
Brilliant setup, sir. Brilliant setup, and truly one of the great intellectuals of our time.
Yes.
And that's universally recognized. It's you don't have to be Catholic to realize that.
Yes. Now that he has been made a saint, I think I would like to see it happen in our lifetime,
Yeah.
but I don't know that it will. He needs to be a doctor of the church.
It's been talked about. Yeah, it's been talked about quite a bit, actually.
You have to be named a saint first, and I think Benedict XVI also should be a doctor of the
And
church.
it's also been talked about. That
But he's not. He's got to be made a saint first.
right? But they've got
He's a great theologian. Does he rise to the level of doctor?
Oh God, yes.
Oh yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Both of them. Yeah.
That wasn't an argument. That was
No,
a
I'm just-
legitimate question.
Yeah, no, it's just to me
The sheer
there's no
breadth,
greater thinker.
the sheer breadth and
when it
depth
comes to
of
theology.
their output and authentic output lends to at least the possibility, I think. And now let me speak to the less. I don't want to say the darker side of it, but we have a tendency to want to canonize our popes. We like that.
Consider like 80% of them have been canonized. You're correct.
Yeah, I mean, Pius XII is never going to get canonized. There's too at least
which is unfortunate.
It's unfortunate. He was a pretty decent guy. John the 23rd happened. Paul VI happened. John Paul II happened. John Paul I is not going to because quite simply
It wasn't there long enough.
it wasn't there long enough.
Yeah.
Actually, I think he does have a miracle attributed to him, though, doesn't he?
I don't know that. Maybe. But those are the type of things, because you rise to that certain level, there's a cult of personality by being a pope. It's not a bad thing. I'm not trying to make that a
Right,
bad thing.
it doesn't have to be a bad thing.
No, it's not, and it's. I mean, some may have worked that way. Although I can assure you, there's not a cult. There's not a movement to make Alexander VI the saint. I'm pretty sure that's
No,
pretty clear.
that ship sailed like the day after he was made pope.
That's right. Yes, the Borgia. But as a general, and like I say, Pius XII is kind of an anomaly. But we've got others that you go back. But by the time you get back to the 1800s, who cares? And which kind of leads to the entire process of it's
Martin?
You got to kind of be a thing.
Before we continue, explain Pius the 12th.
Oh,
Ah.
Pius the
Because
12th.
the listeners may not know why he was not
Why
much
he's
of a
not
candidate.
considered to do that, because he was the Pope during the World War II, and there was
Yeah.
there was a book. I will not name it. I will not name the author because it's still out there, that really did a hit job on him as being a Nazi collaborator. That is not the
Yeah.
case,
Yes.
but
Until
there-
that book was published, that was not the way he was seen.
he was not seen as that at all.
He was
And,
seen as the savior of the Jews, wasn't he?
He
look, it's complicated. Fortunately,
Well,
But
he,
yes,
he had to try to maintain the independence of the
of the Vatican.
Vatican.
That's correct.
And not let Mussolini and his buddies overrun the joint, but at the same time, he had to find some way of decrying what was going on in Europe.
But only to
And-
a certain point, and that is what he's criticized for, saying he should have done more.
and it's so easy in retrospect to, well, you should have
Absolutely.
done more.
Absolutely.
It's hard to do more when the SS shoots you in the head.
Well, that's right. Literally, it's
And I
only because
mean,
you're.
I think they would have been as brazen to do so.
Oh yeah. Well,
Oh,
the,
yeah.
the SS could have easily walked into the Vatican and taken the Pope hostage. I don't know that it would have made much difference, to be honest, other than a billion Catholics, and that's a high number at the time, would have been incensed. And Hitler didn't want to do that. He didn't need that. He had enough problems without.
Well, and there is a small but very strong Catholic presence in Germany.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, Benedict XVI is from Bavaria. The Bavarian Catholics were a very important part of,
That's right.
of Germany.
Yeah, Southern Germany was
He
still
recognized
Catholic.
that would have
Talk to
been
half the
nothing
people in Louisville. They're all German Catholics.
Right.
Yes.
That's the intention is, why we don't need to antagonize people. We don't want to do that. We've got enough
We got
problems.
enough fights right now. We don't need to take on the church.
That's it. But the reason
But okay,
the
so-
reason
They're already fighting
Pius,
on two
because
fronts.
there is a lot of I think it's selective, and I think
Yeah.
it has an agenda behind it to say that you were not the entire World War II milieu, which I like to use,
Word boner.
makes him not suitable.
So the current zeitgeist is let's just let that sleeping dog lie.
Word boner.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. That's
I think
and I'm not suggesting that
Imperator
everything
had
that was
something,
said
too.
about him was a lie.
right.
I'm not saying
it's,
that.
It's just
No.
right now. It's just let it.
There
lie.
were enough mistakes.
let
There
it-
were
But he
mistakes
was definitely
made.
not a collaborator.
That's
he
correct.
was not pro-Hitler.
That-
The Vatican saved approximately 800,000 Jews.
That's right.
That's a lot.
That's right.
I mean, it's
You know,
not equal to the 6 million that died.
Well, your first point is unfortunately debatable. The third point
that he was a collaborator.
that it's not in truth. I'm talking about in practice, in parlance. There are many people
I
that
would-
say he was. We know
Well,
he's
most
not.
people have opinions, but
The
they're
fact
like
that he
buttholes.
you-
Most of
you-
them stink.
That's right, but unfortunately, it is a commonly spoken thing. With
Well, anything
ignorance,
that everybody knows is almost always false.
and that's right.
Okay. Well,
But
that's-
the fact that he was pro-Hitler is absolutely refutable. Absolutely refutable because that is very much something that can be established. The fact that he saved or was part of the process of saving those individuals you speak of, mostly that is absolutely
And I think
irrefutable
the
as well.
one valid criticism
Mostly.
of that is the number of children that were sent off and then were baptized to become Catholic.
And see, there's the
And separated from
complicatedness.
but that's not to say necessarily. The Pope said, "Hey, you know what? Let's take these kids and send them off and get them baptized." That process probably started as, "Hey, you know what? We can hide them if they're Catholic."
That's correct. See, to ignore all the details is to live in ignorance, or
Yes.
or as Worf would say, die in ignorance.
And as Trevor says, it's complicated.
That's correct. So,
right. Because you got essentially the same situation with Ratzenberger and even
Ratzinger.
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 He's got cheers on the brain.
he has to grow up
Yeah.
in that.
Norm
Point. I mean, he's
Yeah,
a
that's
young
right.
man.
as did John Paul.
He was in the Hitler Youth, but not from choice.
No,
You
Right,
had
they
to
were
be
all
a-
in the Hitler Youth.
Well,
Matter of fact, he deserted when he was drafted to work the defenses.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
so there's.
I mean,
Unlike George Soros.
exactly. Yes.
yes.
Unlike George.
All right.
I want to circle us back to the quote.
Yes,
Again,
yes,
please.
but that was a very good explanation for those
For
who
Pius
would
the
know,
12th,
for
that's
Pius
right,
the
yeah.
12th.
Mm-hmm.
But so if I were to poll the Brotherhood, what is the meaning of life?
42.
As a
Mhm.
Camusian,
Ooh.
There is there. I mean, there is no meaning of life. We're just here.
That, of course, is not the Catholic perspective.
No.
That's right.
I was
But-
That's one reason why we've got Martin.
That's right.
But I first read this quote. I was like, well, I have to come up with something extra depressing for when it's my turn. I have to get that with this one.
well, so far you've succeeded.
Well, we can sing Monty Python's meaning of life.
So I mean, are we any different than that shrub that's outside your window of the library?
Shrubbery?
here?
Did we say something about
You
shrubbery?
know, it's taking in
Roger the Shrubber put that in there, sir.
carbon dioxide and putting out oxygen. We're taking in oxygen and putting out carbon dioxide.
Well, there's a symbiotic relationship.
And so, but is that meaning? For the Camusian, none of that's knowable. We're just it's life is absurd. The mythology of Sisyphus, pushing the boulder up the hill and having to watch it roll back down. That's all there is, and
Well, yeah.
well.
I mean,
Come-
life is a
come-
hamster wheel, is what you're saying.
come to grips with that, and then find your way to rebel from that. Is of course the Camusian formula that we've
But
discussed.
if it doesn't matter, why do you have to find a way to rebel against that?
Before we destroy
Very interesting. Yeah.
his point of view, what are your what are your point
Wow.
of views?
Well, take it.
Brother Andre is very confident.
You're going to take a good shot. Go ahead.
No, I want to hear what.
Well,
other,
I mean, this is a modernist approach. The Camusian approach is very modernist. It's very Nietzschean. Ultimately, I think the roots of
it's-
self-doubt.
It's where Nietzsche stops. Essentially,
Yeah.
he gets
But
almost there.
He's the one that kind of
and
started
Camus
all this
takes it
because
on for the
from
next.
from Kant backwards, it was we're going to make sense of this.
Yes.
We're going to make sense of this in
right.
some
and,
fashion.
And the Camusian position,
And
the
it-
absurdist position is you're wasting your time trying to make sense of all this
Nietzsche,
because it
Nietzsche
doesn't.
essentially says the same thing. He doesn't,
Yeah.
like you say, he doesn't quite fulfill all that, and he does a lot of other things. And I don't get me wrong, I'm an admirer of both of those guys. Let me state that up front because I think we must not be afraid of ideas. We
The
must
ability
not
to
be-
ask questions that make others think is one of the most
Mhm.
important ability of a society.
Correct.
So you're
and-
saying I'm the most important part of this little tribunal we've got going.
You are
on.
our, you
I
are
said
the
one of the most important things.
well, a tribunal would be 3. We have 5, so it's a pentagonium.
Well, of the little social circle salon we've got going on here, I'm the one that gives you the most challenging question.
From my point of view, anyone other than myself is the most important because I serve others. Which,
well, that's a
which
very
would-
diaconal thing. And that's,
which brings us back
Mhm.
to our quote.
What's the meaning of life?
Yeah,
All right, so to me, if I want, because it's very difficult to distill something like the meaning of life down to something that can be
a sentence.
a sentence or even 2 or 3. I think from my perspective, the meaning of life, if you want to boil it down to something that is understandable, because I think part of the meaning of life is not understood. Because in that sense,
Mhm.
I agree with
Yeah.
the absurdists, is that certain things are not understandable. Where I disagree is the why bother.
Okay.
Because I think the why bother is at the root of what makes humanity different from the rest of creation.
Right. And keep in mind that the absurdist remedies, the first one, suicide, is rejected.
Right. Right.
As that's not coming to grips with the real situation, that's getting out. So
Right. But when you go through what are the options, we still diverge.
Yeah.
So to boil it down to something which is mostly understandable to people,
Palatable.
basically it boils down to relationships. All right.
okay.
So, and there's 2 kinds of relationships, and then there are sub-kinds beyond that. But I mean, the 2 kinds are your relationship with God and your relationship with man.
Yeah, horizontal and vertical.
Yes. And when you start talking about relationships, then you start talking about the 2 greatest commandments: to love God and love your neighbor. All right. That's the essence of relationships. Right?
That's what the quote states that.
And that's where the quote goes. So, how we relate to one another largely is what gets us out of our own head and where the meaning comes from. The more we stay in our own head, the less real meaning I think we can find in life, because
Other people aren't real then.
right, other
They're-
people
they
are
are-
not real.
They're simply what function do they play in my head?
Exactly, and that is a
versus
very
Their
dangerous.
value
No,
as an individual.
That's a very dangerous
It is.
philosophy,
It is.
because that's how we get Stalin and Mao,
Yep.
Yeah, in the aggregate, or the serial
Yes.
killer,
or the serial killer in the individual.
micro.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
and Marcus, I wanted to bring you into the discussion and say, what is your definition of the meaning of life?
Oh, well, you see, the way I see it, there are two different questions there. There's what is the meaning of life as an overall thing, and then there's what is the meaning of my life?
Ooh.
Because I think this quote is referring to the what is the meaning of the individual's life, as opposed to what is the meaning of life itself. Because and that can change with the individual. Every individual's view of what is the meaning of their life is exactly that, their view. And it can be altruistic, it could be narcissistic, it could be, any number of things. As far as what is the meaning of life universally, I tend to think that that's above our pay grade. I don't think that we can ever know that necessarily.
I would say that
Um,
certainly you in particular would have had a lot of opportunity to reflect on this, especially the value of your
yeah.
life, more so than
Oh,
lots
yes.
of folks. So
Oh, yeah.
that's
I mean, I
find that insightful. Yeah.
yeah, I
Now,
mean, I've been staring at a lot of hospital room ceilings going over all of this, and talking with a number of individuals of numerous faiths who visited, uh, and had these discussions. I mean, it's and it is. It's one of those things of the when it comes to the meaning of each of our own lives, that's just it. It's each of our own lives, and it's what we make of it and what it means to us. Because when it comes to other individuals, we can't say. I mean, we can't make that choice for other people.
I don't. Personally, I don't think that's where John Paul would be going with that quote. But yes, you are valid. We cannot tell somebody what their meaning of life is.
So ultimately, the meaning of life is 100% relative.
I would
What your
disagree.
understanding of it is.
That's
Yes.
fair enough.
Right. I mean, you guys would not say that again as representatives and believers in a universal faith. Then you have a
Yeah.
firm conception of the meaning of life.
Mm-hmm.
even though we will express it uniquely.
Now I'm going to go out on
He's next.
Oh.
He hasn't done his.
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I do think that that Marcus is correct. Our own we each approach. By definition, we each have our own individual outlooks. I don't think that's debatable or even
No.
arguable. The entire, but the question itself kind of sidesteps that and says, is there something that is universal
Mm-hmm.
that is for a human being? We'll limit it by that. For humanity, is there meaning to that which we call life? I won't broaden that out to the animals or plant life or any of that sort of stuff, other forms of life, but I'll keep it within humanity because we are the only sentient beings that are known, that we know of. Is there for a sentient being
Mm-hmm.
meaning in this life? Or to put it into a phraseology that's more in line with where John Paul comes from, are those who have eternal souls, the ability to think, to reason, and be self-aware, is there meaning for them? I submit because of that, there must be. Sentience itself demands that there be at least the quest for meaning. I'm not necessarily saying we're going to
Yes.
find it. I'm not necessarily saying that that it's going to be completely universal, but I do believe we as humans have the innate ability to boil things down to their essential elements.
To-
And that's what
Mhm.
John Paul is trying to talk about. He's saying there must be something, if you go deep enough, that is universal as a meaning for life. In other words, now, to be dogmatic about it, you could go back to the Catechism. What's the purpose of life? To love, serve God in this life and next.
No, why did God make
Why
you?
did God make us? That's exactly right. That's essentially
To
what
know,
he's
to
saying.
love, to serve God, and to be happy with Him forever in heaven.
That's exactly it. See, it's a very dogmatic approach.
Mhm.
Okay, you can hit the end button because we're finished at that point. But
But you have to understand the reason that is put together that way is people demand that. And especially at a certain level, we want to know, tell me what the meaning of life is, Socrates,
Yes.
Pope. And that's okay, we'll do that. Here it is.
Mhm.
Just the statement itself is rather absurd unless you continually say, okay, let's back that up. And that's kind of where
Well,
I think.
I mean, to be fair, from a philosophical standpoint, it begs the question.
Yeah.
It presumes there is a meaning of life.
Well, that's correct. It presumes there's a
Yes.
meaning in life, and it presumes that there's a God.
Yes.
Is John Paul attempting to expand then beyond that relationship into a relationship with others?
Ding, ding,
I-
ding.
yeah,
I
well,
think I think
Exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, I think that's
Because he's taking the old
He's taking
dogmatic
the
approach.
dogma and attempting to expand it and
Correct.
give it more
Right.
relevance.
Let me put you a little bit of a milieu here on this.
Word boner.
I keep using it. You don't have to do that every time. But what he's doing is,
But
yes,
Martin likes it when we word boner.
I don't know.
he likes to be
I
boned.
can't tell you when he made this quote here, but you have to understand too. John Paul II was the one who rewrote the Catechism to the modern catechism that we have today.
I think Ratzinger rewrote it
Yeah, you're
more
right.
so than him.
But
But yes,
he was
Yeah,
the guy who's
at that direction. Yes,
he's the one whose
Bernie,
name goes on.
Bernie, redo this, but
Yeah, that's right. And the damn thing here is like 4 inches thick versus the old, well, there really wasn't one previously, but the old Baltimore Catechism, which is
actually no, there was a universal.
Yeah,
the Trent Catechism was the
that's
universal
true, but
catechism.
nobody knew it. Nobody
Yeah.
had it. You know, it was the thing. The Baltimore Catechism, which was an instructional device for children, was stemmed from it. That's the one that most people.
You know,
knew.
actually, that is a very. If you look at it today, that Baltimore Catechism is still an excellent teaching tool.
It is. It is. Yeah. It
really
is.
is.
It is
The
very
truth
basic.
is always a good tool.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that even though people denigrate it,
Well,
it is. It has a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
it really
the
does.
statements of the actual, the statements that they give are very accurate. The problem that most people have with it is the presentation because it is
Yes, and it was-
highly clerical, highly clerical. It is unbelievably clerical, and that to me is my objection to it. But what it states, you can take it to the bank. It still
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
John Paul is redefining that probably around the time he made this quote. Certainly it influenced him. He said, we can do better than dogma, folks. We can do better than because I say so. That's what he's trying to say is the meaning of life is not something that you should simply take for granted because somebody said so.
because some priest told you this is what it was.
That's his particular thing he's going against, but it works universally too.
I don't know. I
But-
without the context of the quote, do you know what document this comes from?
I do not.
Okay. Without the context of the quote, I think that might be reading more into it. But again, that's just me.
There's no question that it had to be influential.
I don't know
at the time.
because again, because this is my focus. That love of God, love of neighbor. To me, knowing how John Paul operated, to me, this is just as validly a call to evangelize the world.
It is.
Because
It's
it
that's
is-
the beauty of it.
Because
yeah.
when you're talking about giving yourself to God and others, that is literally the whole point of Vatican II is opening up the doors and letting the fresh air in,
Right.
and to revitalize the relationships,
Mhm.
right?
That's he said.
And to me, that's not necessarily. It doesn't require the rejection of the things you're talking about, Francis. To me, because to me the focus is more of a none of that stuff matters if you don't get this part right. If
Yeah,
you don't
good.
get the neighbor
Well,
and God
my-
part
my-
Right, because you're
my argument is-
augmenting
Yeah.
the relationship.
Well, yeah, he's not changing.
beyond-
He's not changing
Right.
the truths.
Right, it's not just
He's
a
changing the-
relationship.
yeah,
Right, I'm not saying
he's,
that.
he's changing the focus.
That's right. He's changing the approach. Is that you have to realize, because what he's doing is taking us back to that red hot center of this is what the Christian experience and understanding of the meaning of life. The Christian knows the meaning of life because it stems from the person of Jesus Christ, who says the two greatest commandments. That's what he's talking about. That's what he's stating here.
Right,
He's recognizing
It-
we
it-
need to get back to the basics, folks. We have spent too much time worrying about rules, regulations, and or anything really. That's
Yeah.
just two examples. When we have lost our, shall we say, Christian heart, our empathetic heart,
Our focus.
our focus. That's right, on the ministerial aspect of loving God and loving neighbor. That is in his quote, and I believe it, and I presume
Right,
I
because
speak
there's
for my two
he's,
theological brothers here.
he's wanting
That's the
you
thing.
to expand beyond the. It's like the experience of the Eucharist is wonderful, but it has more meaning in the context of your relationship with
Well,
fellow
it
believers.
means not just itself;
Yeah.
it means even more.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a gross simplification of what the meaning of life is. It's the desire to seek joy, and I purposely asked
Yeah,
everyone what your
yeah.
your definition of the meaning of life was, and the one constant that I heard between everyone was that it doesn't revolve around me; it revolves around others. We heard the love of neighbor and God, but not the love of myself.
Right.
Where the focus of
Yeah.
this world leads us is to please myself and commercialism.
Because ultimately, if you approach that way, you end up back in hell as other people. The
Mhm.
quotation that
Oh,
you
you're
use.
going to have to walk me through that because I end up in a different
I-
zip code
and-
than what you're ending up
Yeah.
at.
Jean Paul Sartre, right?
That's correct. Yeah, you're the one that usually
And-
uses
Yeah.
the quote the most.
Hell
I'm
is
kinda-
other people. Yeah,
That's right. That's
that's
what,
where
which is modern,
think-
which is a modernistic skepticism. Essentially, is what
Yeah.
it is. It's
Mhm.
that's the philosophy it's coming out of, and that is in the polar opposite of John Paul here. Is hell is other people? No, heaven is other people. To use
Amen.
to use the same.
Well-
The meaning of life is found in other people.
Yeah.
It is found in
Imperator.
relationships.
in serving them. For John Paul, it's in service. Is the core.
Well, let's
Mhm.
let's.
Well, hold on. Let's
I think-
hear
I think we-
Imperator.
I
Yeah,
think
'cause
we
he's
need
got-
to
you're
we
right,
need to
right,
go
right,
there if
right.
we need
Well,
to question that. Imperator.
I mean, one of the things I think this whole idea of the loving God, serving others, I think that Jesus Christ and his teachings brought those two things together as one.
He did.
When you serve the least of your brethren, you are serving me.
That's correct. Matthew 25.
Yes. So when you love your neighbor, you are indeed loving God. You're showing that. You're living
So
that.
Which by extension says that's the whole point you're here, which is the meaning of
Yes.
life, right?
the seeking of joy is found not in serving ourselves and in hedonistic approach, but in one where we're serving others. That is where we find true joy.
It's paradoxical. It's always been paradoxical. In order to receive, you must give.
Yes.
Yep.
That's right, and that does not
Okay.
that
But-
and it does involve a certain degree of emptying, but
but-
emptying comes only because you are then filled.
But you know that joy, that what you receive from that shows itself anytime that you do that.
I think the
Uh,
joy is a side effect, not the point.
Exactly, it
Well,
is.
that's right.
And you get that when you volunteer, when you help people, you feel good about yourself and what you've done.
Hopefully, you're not volunteering because you want to feel
Exactly.
good. That's why I say it's a side
Exactly.
effect, not a
But
not the point.
but the same thing can be said for anything else. Marriage, for example. A good portion of the joy of marriage is the fact that you are giving of yourself to your partner.
Absolutely.
The
And
purpose of marriage is to get your spouse into heaven.
yeah. In fact, the only
Yeah.
way that it works is if you both give.
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly, because
And
it's
then,
the
but
only
that's
way it
also,
works.
but that's the only way society works.
Hey,
That's the only way the world works.
Have you
all-
looked outside your window?
All
recently?
hail the imperator.
Otherwise, it's dysfunctional.
That's
Well,
correct.
yes. So I did find the source of the quote. I did some Googling while that wonderful discussion was going on. And we have given Brother Andre so much grief here. He's pouring an even stiffer drink. So the quote comes from the message of His Holiness Pope John Paul II for the 33rd World Day of Prayer for Vocations. So it's interesting because this ties into our pre-show discussion. It's about evangelization in the context of the church, because he even says that evangelization is an ecclesial activity. In other words, the church evangelizes, not individual. I mean, the individuals do, but
We participate.
it's in the context of the church. But this is to clergy, and probably he meant it for priests, because even back then, even with Saint John Paul II, deacons were a secondary consideration at best.
Cockroaches.
So for this sort of thing, but that's what he's
cookies.
talking to. He's talking to the clergy and calling them to evangelize to others for the love of God and love of others. It's those relationships.
True evangelization is not an action. It is allowing people to see our lives as we live out our Christian life.
Well, and
Truly and hopefully.
there's a historical precedent for that, because we are often accused of converting the Western world by
Proselytizing and not
proselytizing,
evangelizing.
Yeah, and converting
Yes.
it by the sword. That is nothing could be further from the truth, because no,
We have done that.
I'm not saying it's never
Not
happened.
to the extent of Muhammad in the 7th century, but
Right. But my point
Or
in all this
today.
is there's no way this would have stuck if the message wasn't inherently attractive.
yes.
There's no way.
Yes.
I would-
There's a reason that Christianity has a billion adherents. Catholicism has a billion adherents. Come on, Christianity is even bigger. And there's a reason for that, and that's because the message is accurate. It has stood the test of time.
I would
It's
take
infinitely paradoxical.
it is, yes. I would take exception to one thing that the Brother Andre said when you said that evangelization is not an action.
I submit.
Well, but for this reason. So I find this all fascinating. This is your quote and how it ties into our prior discussion, but also ties into my homily this past weekend.
Oh, preach it, brother.
Christ gave the command to love one another as I have loved you. That's
Yes.
that's the money quote. Even though that comes at the very end of the gospel, that and there are things besides that, but to me, that was the money quote.
Amen.
And the thing that I was trying to drive home, because Philip, he loves to drive this home about love God, love your neighbor. Those are the two things you need to know the most.
That's right, and that's right to the quote.
Mhm.
Right?
And one of the things that I pointed out is, in the English language, we just have the one word, right? We have to explain what kind of love we mean by modifying that word.
Eros,
Brotherly love.
agape,
Philios. That's right.
philia.
Those are the three Greek versions. Yeah.
Well, there's the Greeks have like a dozen words.
Yeah, that's right. Those are
or love.
the ones that we know.
Those are the one agape, eros, and keratos are the three that we think of the most. Jesus was talking about agape,
Right.
Which is love
Unconditional.
of God for the love of the other for the sake of
Sake of
the
the
other.
other.
And keratos is related to that, which is the love of the other in wanting the highest good for the other. It's where we get our word charity, and it means love. And so I was trying to drive home the point. Understand, love is not an emotion. Love at its core is an action.
Amen.
And if we don't, if we understand it only as an emotion, I don't think we can fully live that commandment,
It's
because
ultimately
it's just a warm, fuzzy
it's
feeling.
ultimately self-focused, and then ultimately
Yeah.
It
Not-
starts as a warm, fuzzy feeling, but if we truly embrace it, it turns into an action.
Actually, I think it can go either way.
Okay.
Sometimes we have to act before we can get that.
Both
feeling.
and.
Yeah.
I'm Catholic. I can
Yeah.
go with that.
we get that,
Because
yeah.
as Francis and I were talking about
This whole episode's starting to feel like a homily.
Well, you give
Are-
preachers a platform, and
And a
ultimately
microphone,
we'll get
you're
there.
gonna
You
get a
all, do
homily.
you have the gifts? Are we doing Eucharist after this?
We don't have a priest,
Yeah,
so we can't.
Give them an inch, and they'll take a pulpit.
We will. But that also goes back to my understanding of theology and
Saint
philosophy.
Patrick is right across the street there, so I mean, my man here could probably
Yeah,
get
you run
somebody
down,
over here, and y'all could go ahead and
get
you
some,
know,
get some
celebrate
hosts out of the
Mass.
tabernacle.
yeah.
If you
Wow.
if you require Eucharist after your baptism, I'll go get it.
No, just on you guys. You're good. Go ahead and This,
So-
this was starting to feel like mass. Yes.
I'm sorry.
If we're
If we're
gonna baptize him, I want to be there.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
well,
yeah.
we
Well, you better get in the car because I think it's coming.
God knows we've tried.
I'll bring the
We've
bath
tried.
bomb.
The bath bomb, the baptismal bath bomb. Call out the holy hand grenade. The baptismal bath bomb.
But to Martin's point
How do you
about
say
it
it
sounding
works?
like mass, I don't think you can take a quote like this from a saint like John Paul and not explore the theology.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
And,
kind of.
and I've said on the show before, theology.
There's no kneelers
philosophy.
under Andre's coffee
No,
table here.
but you know what? Lack of kneelers does not mean you don't kneel.
Yeah, you can kneel anywhere.
That's right. But for
I'm all
me,
for kneeling.
philosophy and theology are two sides of the same coin. Philosophy is trying to understand the world through the natural world, right?
Right.
The world.
For what we can experience.
It's the meaning of life through the natural world. Put another way, theology is trying to understand the world in relationship to God. All right, so it's two sides of the same coin, and that's why philosophy is so important in clergy formation at the priest level. Obviously, we don't get that same level of formation.
We do not as much, but we do. get
Like I said, we don't get that same level of
some level.
formation.
Yeah, there's the word. Yeah,
And there are many who say we don't need that much formation.
let them be anathema. 'Cause
Well,
I think
it's an interesting point.
You should get all the formation you can stand.
Yes.
It's an interesting point because, as I like to say, I've seen too many of my ill-formed brethren speak heresy or not have.
Well, yeah.
It's only heresy if you don't recant.
Well, it's only and there's a difference between formal heresy and
Material.
heresy.
It seemed like there would be lots of opportunities for ongoing education.
There is.
Well, there is. They're actually getting better
Yes.
about that in our diocese.
We're providing more, but there's
Mhm.
still guys that just simply won't show up. A lot of the issues that we're talking about here, when we come to that talk about, we're public. If you're clergy, you're public. And once you have a public dimension to you, you are honor bound, duty bound, morally bound,
and ethically bound.
and ethically bound to get it right. And the idea of you don't need all that book learning is cast that into the outer darkness for wailing and gnashing of teeth. You have the responsibility. You pave your own way to hell by your own willful ignorance.
The former Father John Carapi said one thing, and I try to live by this. I want to get it right because I have a responsibility to you as clergy.
Damn straight.
And basically, I'm not going to affirm you in your okayness because I'm not going to hell for any of you.
Well, that's right.
That's how serious it is for us.
That's right.
If we let you slide because we don't want to hurt your feelings, that's on us.
That's right.
So, anyways, bourbon break.
God damn it! I need a drink.
You do. You all are the ones on top of this episode.
Martin Luther over
Martin,
here.
yeah, Martin needs to speak up here and challenge us some more.
He can't get a word in edgewise, and we totally
Well,
understand that.
that's true. That's true.
After I decimated his argument, he doesn't want to speak up.
Oh, I think Martin can come up with more.
Oh, I mean, I'm not feeling decimated. I just
I didn't.
letting
I didn't
you
see
run
any
with it.
decimation yet.
I'm just letting you run with it.
And then he's going to pull the rug out from under us. So,
Awesome.
Martin, why don't you start and tell us what you poured for this bourbon?
What did? The Old Forester 90 proof
You
black
did.
label.
Oh, you did that. Okay, got it.
Yes, the barrel stuff. Woo, doggies, this is good. kind of chocolatey.
Yeah, it's right at the sweet spot of the proof. 90
Yeah,
proof
real
is
real nice
smooth.
and mellow.
Yeah, mellow.
Touch of sweetness, kind of a touch of a fruit sweetness, I think, to it.
Fruity?
Just a little bit.
Didn't catch that.
Um,
What kind
and
of
then with
fruit?
The chocolate.
Are you getting, or can you tell?
Jackfruit.
I can't really tell. It's just kind of that a little touch of the sweetness.
I asked because I'm
Mhm.
also drinking it, and I was going to see if I could pick that out. But anyways, go on.
Maybe a touch of cherry.
Maybe.
I think,
Maybe.
I think that's kind of.
I think cherry tends to come out in a lot of expressions.
Yeah.
It depends.
Because I think cherry and then the oak are similar flavors, so I think that's probably why that is. But yeah, it's kind of a chocolate cherry layer flavor. But that's
It comes
good
in at
stuff.
the end, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
But
as
it's
it
good
settles
stuff.
onto your tongue. Yeah.
Really good stuff. So that's a seriously well done expression for
It
the Old
is.
Forester. folks.
It's more complex than the Eagle Rare,
yeah. Yeah.
which is surprising.
Wow.
It is because, like I said, I poured the same thing. I think it's not as smooth as the Eagle Rare, but that's okay.
On the first drink, it's not.
I think even after I get more of that woodsy, smoky stuff in my mouth.
Okay.
For me, I'm getting less of the chocolate. To me, I sort of get the cherry at the very end. I think maybe it might be related a little bit to some licorice in there, but it's I'm having a little hard.
Yeah, I
time
had a
getting
lot
that.
of ice in mine.
I just had the one.
You just had the one. I had a little more. Something mine's a little more watered. That
Okay.
might change the characteristics.
That's
just a
true.
touch.
That's true. That would certainly mellow it out more, I would think. But it's got a great color too. You know, it's got a very rich color, which for a 90 proof is really good because usually when you start getting it down below 100, it tends to brighten up a little.
Pale out.
Yeah, pale out. But it is a very, very good bourbon. It's a very enjoyable drink. It's not one that is so in your face that you feel a little bit of heartburn in your because sometimes they give you a little bit of that burn that
Yeah.
is akin to a heartburn
Oh,
kind
this,
of feeling.
this dude's. I mean, this.
But it's a really warm hug to me.
Oh yeah, it's just drinking. I mean, it's going straight down. It's,
Yeah, I mean, this
oh,
is a
it's
good sipper. This
Yeah.
is not a you do not chug this. This is a sipping bourbon.
As I just chugged
With
my
great
last beer.
conversation. Bourbon is always enhanced by great conversation.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Francis.
Francis, what do you?
I'm having the same thing you are. In fact, we're trying to finish off your darn bottle of Colonel E.H. Taylor.
We will accomplish that before this
think we
recording
will.
is done.
That's right. Yeah, we're working on it.
It was full when they started.
Not quite, but we've been kicking that butt for a pretty good long. Straight Kentucky Bourbon Whiskey is what it's called, small batch. And what's the proof on that? This
100.
is
100.
100. Okay,
It's the bottled and bond.
bottle and bond. Okay,
Okay,
good.
so
yeah, I
which
see
is
that.
always going to be 100. So
Yeah, which I see that now on the bottle here. Again, it's Mrs. Francis's current favorite, although Angel's Envy is up there too, which we've not done that in a long time.
It's been a while.
It's
since
been a
we've
long
had
time.
that, yeah.
But this one here, I can't say enough great things about it. It stays in the tongue, I think.
It does.
It doesn't. We don't get much of a hug. Goes up in the nose a little bit. It's got a vanilla caramel thing. It's not a. Yeah, you're agreeing with me on that, Andre?
Very
It's-
much.
It doesn't go as deep as chocolate. Chocolate is a deeper thing, and it doesn't
Yeah.
do that. It stays light. It's not butterscotch, but it reminds me of that type of an image. Okay.
So heavier on the caramel side.
Heavy
of
on
that.
the caramel side. That's exactly
Caramel,
right.
spice.
Spice is a very good one. It has a little pepper to it, just a hint.
Well,
Oh,
you have
good.
triple digit proof, so you're gonna start getting that
So
spice.
Well, but
gonna
I
get
mean,
a
the
little
pepper generally tends to come from the rye.
That's right, and yeah, it's if it's there, it's minimal, but it's got a little bit. It's a sting, I guess. Maybe that's a better word to it. It's a little bit of sting, and
How
that's
about a tingle?
a ting. I love tingling. I absolutely love tingling. So yes, that's a very good word. It's I
you
use
and
that.
the Imperator both. I would.
That's correct. You know,
Mm-hmm.
You don't like a good tingle, Martin?
I do.
His usually comes from a
I was
double
gonna
A
say
battery.
I don't know anybody who doesn't love a good tingle.
Wow.
That's a bird.
Oh.
Somebody get the liniment. I just got burned.
Oh, wow. You got any aloe around here?
Yeah, I'll go find some.
Ooh.
I'm
Well, I derailed that conversation.
Well, just we don't expect that from you.
It's such a good burn.
Yeah,
I mean, I know. It's,
but yeah,
I can tell that you are finally over these last 2 or 3 sessions we've gotten together, finally really comfortable with this group, because when you first started, you sat there in
I wouldn't
awe.
say Buddha ghost.
it takes a little time to get us.
You were more just happy to sit here and listen.
We had
which is
years
fine.
of
Yes.
figuring this out. That's
Yeah,
how we got there.
Yeah, we've known each other for almost 40 years.
it might be the
or
most
more.
true
Yeah.
statement any of us have ever said. They're friends. It takes a while to get us.
It does.
I'm gl-
I'm not sure our
I-
wives
I'm
have gotten us yet.
Yeah.
It's-
Hey, but when you
I'm
do,
just-
we are brilliant. That's right. In
I'm
our own
just
minds, I know,
glad that-
but we are brilliant.
Marcus Aurelius needs to drop knowledge.
I'm just glad that Andre's, finally, our depravity's rubbing off on him.
Says the king of depravity. That's why he's the emperor.
yes.
It takes a while. To
Sexy
get us.
beast.
That's
We may have to change our tagline.
it takes a while to get us.
While to get used to us, to get us.
To get us. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep listening. It takes a while.
That's
Yeah,
right,
it
yeah.
takes a while to get us.
That's okay. Well, hey, hey.
Well, how are our
so hard now?
how are our listeners from Argentina doing?
I have not checked the stats.
Singapore
in a while.
wasn't Singapore.
Singapore. I'm
It
sorry,
was
not
Singapore.
That's right.
Well, we had a good contingent from Brazil
All right, we
as well.
love our Brazilians.
Yes.
See?
Yes.
Nailed that one down. Absolutely, very good. Thank you.
All right.
It's the E.H. Taylor. It
I
brings
mean,
out
even
the best.
Francis is getting the double entendres in. We're really rocking.
Double,
this, aren't we?
double entendres are one of the most absolutely highest order
of punnage.
of punnage and of writing and of expression. I mean, if you can
Uh,
do a double entendre well, you got it, guys. It's the E.H. Taylor.
So
Brings
mass
it.
is obviously over.
I know.
We've folded up all the kneelers.
We're just at responsorial, Sam, because
We-
I'm about to bring us back into.
Well, I'm
math.
just saying, if we're talking about the Brazilians, I'm pretty sure that at least we've taken a break from it.
Yeah,
I do want, but I want to make
everything's
sure
back in the tabernacle.
Andre doesn't get forgotten because he is the captain, but he has not.
You've not talked about your.
talked about your drinking. I want to make sure you get this.
Woohoo! I've got a treat that's hard to beat.
That's right, because we're drinking the same thing here. We're
Andre is
drinking
feeling
the
no
E.H.
pain.
Taylor. We're at his place, so he gets to stay home and
Maybe,
have a good time.
maybe that's it. It's less of us rubbing off on him and more of the E.H. Taylor.
It's the
rubbing off
lubricity,
on him.
and we love
That's
that.
true. That's true. Yes.
Uncle E.H. Taylor is definitely at home here, but this, like I've mentioned before, this is probably my go-to bourbon.
Uh-huh.
That's a good one to
It's
choose.
a very good one, yes.
And everything that Francis said was true. The vanilla notes come out, and the spice and the lingering on the tongue, but it goes down so easy, and it's like a long forgotten friend who comes to visit, and
It's your comfort bourbon.
it is indeed.
Oh, that's very well put. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's,
I mean, I've got several that I would consider my comfort bourbons. The 1792,
Yep.
Four Roses.
Yep.
On the higher end, the Woodford Double Oaked.
well, yeah, that was always your. If you
That's my go-to.
if you had to
comfort
pick
bourbon.
one,
Yeah,
that's
the
where
one I
you
would
that's
pick,
where
yeah.
you'd nail it. I'd probably
Most of the comfort bourbons I define as ones that tend to be the lower end price
agreed.
range.
I mean, Basil Hayden would be mine. That's,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
for
that's
sure.
a good comfort bourbon
Yeah,
too.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
Well, we've had,
Anyway, anytime I sip on this, it's like coming home.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. I
Well,
feel
we
like that.
we've just defined three of us here with our comfort bourbon. Martin, you have to say what's yours.
Oh well, I mean, I think we've had it as well with the Eagle Rare.
Well, okay,
That's your
that-
comfort bourbon.
I mean,
if you could only have one,
it
it would be that one.
You,
Oh, now see, that's a different question to me.
That's
I
what
mean,
I'm
here-
saying.
here's
Is
the- here's the
if
thing.
somebody asked you, they're going to buy you a bourbon, and you say, "What's your favorite bourbon?" I would have
I
to
mean,
say
right, like
Basil Hayden.
yeah.
You would say
see,
E.H. Taylor.
No, I would go with the Bookers.
You would go with Booker's,
Yes,
not
but
the
it's
double
my-
oaked.
But it's not my comfort bourbon. See, I define comfort bourbon as something that is my go-to. It's going to be my consistent bourbon. I know what I'm getting, and I can just revel in that expected experience.
I'm trying to minimalize this.
Whereas,
You're not helping.
Well, I'm sorry, but I mean, this is how I've always defined it.
I
and I'm the
understand.
one
I
who
get
first
it.
used the term.
I
so,
got it. Okay. Well, not to.
But Booker's is my favorite bourbon experience.
Okay, so that's what I guess that's what I'm asking is what is our if
Booker's is a journey in
Yes.
experience because it's again supposed to be somewhat different with
It
each.
is, yes.
if we were to
Yeah.
put the pictures of us all up there and say we are a bourbon, if you were a tweed, what kind of tweed would you be? We're talking about what kind of bourbon would you be? And Andre has got this exactly right. He is E.H. Taylor. I am Basil Hayden. You are Eagle Rare Martin. And
I am
Robert,
Booker's.
Robert is Booker's. Okay.
Or if we want to use the names, I'm Booker No, which is not a bad name to be.
And then,
No, that's right.
but I would have been Pappy.
Well, lay it on, because I
Of
know
course.
you're not drinking it, so you can be anything you want to
Yeah.
be.
Because you're
Territory.
extremely
Yeah,
rare.
But we had 3 just exceptional and decent price point bourbons
Right.
today. That
Yes.
I mean, you're just
Uh-huh.
not going to go
Right.
wrong with.
We'll
any
have
of
to
these
ask
3.
Cajun when he's back. I mean, he's still down. I want to make sure we give a shout out to him because he's not here. He's out on the track.
That's right. He's bringing in the harvest.
He's
Bring in
singing,
the harvest at the
He's
Pirate
feeding
he's
us.
Kingdom.
singing the same theme song from Green Acres as he
Yeah.
goes along, bringing it in.
And you may have noticed the Imperator is here, but he has kind of a
He's here,
sound.
but he's not here. He's
So-
here, but he's not here.
Yes, he's dialed in through our Signal secure chat,
Yeah, so
which is
he's-
a great.
He's on the secure channel. Again, at the Danube frontier, there's been a little trouble. So,
He's putting down the rebellions.
taking care of the
yes.
invasion.
That's right, with no mercy.
He sounds like a Jedi Knight.
Roma Vita. We're channeling Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Phoenix Legions. Sorry.
Okay, so
I've had a little bit of bourbon, gentlemen. That's
all right. That's all right.
Yes, you have.
That's
Gladiator is an acceptable quote
I've always
source
thought so.
at any time.
That one in Tombstone.
I am
can't go
Gladiator.
wrong. That's right.
Yep.
My name is Gladiator.
With that, let's return to our
Let's return us
quote.
back. Circle us
because
back.
I think there's an important part of our quote that we have overlooked and totally skipped.
okay.
Tell us. Tell
All right,
us.
all
The
right.
more ready you are to give yourself to
Ah.
God and to others. So I asked the Brotherhood, how do you see yourself in giving yourself totally and fully to another?
Ah. Well. For me,
I think this is a first for the Brotherhood. I have
well,
heard
there's just so
silence
many.
on the
There's
podcast.
so many ways to answer that.
Well,
So when I say
Robert was preeminent in his. He's
yes, since
there,
I went
so
first on the,
he
the,
kinda-
the
he's
meaning,
kinda
I guess
going
I'll
there,
go
so
first on
he's-
this.
He went
yeah.
first with a vocalized pause.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yes. yes.
We're all trying to learn to not interrupt each other. It's not easy, but
Well-
we're working on it.
when I think of the way you put that, to give ourselves to another, to give ourselves completely and totally, the first thing I think about is my marriage, because that is
As it
the
should be.
the
Ding, ding, ding,
primary
ding, ding.
place where we are to give ourselves to one another totally, completely, 100% with absolutely zero holding back of anything, because that, and I use this in the homily, so we'll homilize a little more, Martin. That is because I
Don't
believe
fall asleep. I saw him close
the
his eyes.
I believe the sacraments are our model for how to love one another, because in each sacrament you can see ways that we relate to everybody else.
And marriage is a sacrament.
And marriage is a
Absolutely.
sacrament. Marriage is the closest thing that that mankind can come to understanding the internal life of God Himself,
Amen.
Amen.
because it is a mirror of God's internal love.
That's right. That's why the image of Christ the
Mhm.
bridegroom is so preeminent.
Yes.
because it's that.
Because
Christ
the
marries
church
the
is
church.
the bride.
That's right.
And so when I think of that total giving of self, I think of marriage. Because to be honest, that's probably and I'm probably not very good at it there, because
Well,
I admit my faults.
None of us are
Um,
working out our
but
salvation.
that's where I want to give the most, that totality. I think that in other places, from my own perspective, because I'm harder on myself than anybody else, I think I do a piss poor job of my calling as a deacon, as far as serving my fellow man. Again, that's because I know I am hardest on myself than anybody else, with the possible exception of God, but He's going to show mercy at the end, so not even there. Because my most fervent prayer is that I be the man God would have me be, to go where He would have me go,
The man
do
that
what
God
He
knows
have
you
me
can
do,
be.
to say what He have me say, to give up what He have me give up, to be the man, the husband, the father, the deacon that I can be, that I should be. And so I think I do a bad job of it. But now, as far as what I do actually do, as far as giving of self, I think it goes back to relationships because giving of self to me for others, as far as giving myself to others, has to involve time. You have to be present with people, just as Jesus was present with the people. I mean, yes, he went off to pray to his Father alone, but that was so he could come and deal with the hell that is people, as Martin has put it, because you can only love somebody by being with them. You cannot love somebody without being in their presence because love is an action.
I think your definition is very telling in the fact that I think that every one of us would fill in the blank of what it is that we give ourselves in, whether it be time, money, talents, is the thing that we're going to fill in the blank with is the thing that we're lacking in the most.
Probably, yeah.
So, by relating that to you, your time is probably most valuable to you, and in your giving of time, you're showing the most love.
I think that's a diaconal kind of a given for most of us because that's where we give of ourselves is our time primarily. So much so.
Well, it's certainly the most visible.
It is. I mean, hey, talent is what it is. We give as we have.
Right.
It's a good thing. I will take, and I'm not going to take umbrage, but I will take exception. I think when you say that we have to love. Let me catch exactly what you said about the love requires us being there by being present.
Well, yeah, prayer for others aside.
Yeah, gotcha.
I think that love requires us to be in their presence because if it's an action.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
I'm going to get it
Okay.
right. I don't want to misstate this.
To me, and certainly I'm sure there are exceptions because there's exceptions to everything in the human
Oh
world.
yeah.
You cannot love somebody from afar.
I think you can because our children are the great example because all of us are empty nesters at this point. And we love them as intensely, perhaps even more so.
Yeah, well, yes.
Well, yeah.
Because they are gone.
Because
Thank God they're gone. Yes,
well-
I love you so much more now that you're not living in my house.
That's right. Well, I mean, but
And I
there
don't
are
have to
there are
pay
days
for you.
I miss my children every effing day
yes.
of every effing year.
Because they are not present to you.
But
Yes.
I relish.
Yes, I agree that yes, we
relish their
that's the-
time when I'm with any of them.
yes, that is the desire to be with them.
Yes.
All right. Yes, that is for lack of a better term, because we used it before, the warm and fuzzies. All right. It's
Yeah.
much more than that.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But
that doesn't.
when
it
you
doesn't
are
exclude
with
that.
them,
That's
but
right.
when
yeah.
you are with them,
Yeah.
the desire, you love them so much because you want to be with them.
That's right. Absolutely.
And when you are with them,
so
you
it's
show them,
It is
right?
a function of proximity, even if it is in the absence of proximity.
Yes, because the lack of proximity is what drives that I miss them so much.
That's right,
Obviously,
yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a
Proximity is the
tautology.
question.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
That's
yes,
right. That's
but
right.
also out of sight, out of mind. So, which is it?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so good. And I have to give a call out here to Cajun, who's not here. I don't think I've told you guys this, to play on what you're talking about here and how we as parents do for our children. And I know we all do this because we all have adult children. But my daughters, of course, as you all know, have a house with an enormous, 3/4 of an acre freaking backyard that the city cited them for this tree that had to come down by June. And I called Cajun. My second daughter emails me. They all love Cajun. We all love Cajun. And he said, "Do you think he would come and help us? Because we can't afford to bring in, a tree person for this." And I said, he will. All I have to do is ask. Absolutely, he will.
Any one of us would.
Any one of us would. And I did. I didn't ask all of us. I stuck with him, and he bought him. I'm outing him a little bit. He went and bought a $500 chainsaw to
my
do this
gosh.
job. In his defense, he says, "I needed it anyway. This just gave me the reason
That was
to
an
go do it."
excuse to buy it.
It was.
Does
It was.
say
It was.
steel on it?
But it was a still, and it was
Yep.
it was my God, this bad boy, a knife through butter, because this was an old maple, huge maple that
Was it dead? Is that why it had to come down?
partially, but it was extending over the sidewalk.
Oh, well, so I mean, was it the whole thing had to come down or they had to trim it? Because
No, they had to come it down. That's what they
Wow.
recited. Part of it could have fallen, most of it not. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So we did that, and he came in, and it took us all day to do that. I mean, I'm climbing ladders and we're pulling things over and all sorts of stuff like. He's doing the lion's work.
Right? Yeah, because you have to
one
pull something down a piece at a time. You
One
can't-
person with a chainsaw like that, yeah, that's him. He's the expert. Much less so me.
And I believe him that he
Mhm.
actually did need that, because thinking about where he is, I'm sure he is clearing stuff all the time.
That's right. We've all been out there.
Yes.
But
Oh, yeah.
I guess my point in all this and kind of outing all this here is that is an act of service done from love.
Absolutely.
Exclusively for that.
Yeah.
I do it for my children, not out of honor, but because my children need me. I'm there because I love them, and I'm speaking for all of us. I'm
Yes,
channeling
yes.
all of us. We do that. We
Oh,
don't.
yeah.
We don't ask questions. Don't need to. We just need to know the details so we get it right. And I'm delighted that Cajun shares that love. And my son came in, brought his girlfriend in, and my middle daughter was there. And all of us kind of made a thing about that, and we all went to Senor Iguanas for lunch and finished it all up. My point in all this is proximity is beautiful, and when it happens, it's wonderful. But there is also this distance that we have, and Andre is dead on.
Well, I
You
mean,
miss your daughter every freaking day, don't you?
Amen.
Amen.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But do you
But-
want her to move back in?
Absolutely not.
That's
I
what
mean,
I thought.
it's-
Well, you would not do that to her
it's a
because you want her
sign-
to grow and
right,
and to be.
exactly.
That's
It's,
right.
it's a sign of mature love
That's right. You want her to be
that
best.
they're out on their own.
She's old enough now. She's in
Well-
medical. She's out of medical school. She's
She's in a residency.
in a residency. So
So-
she's doing her thing.
Part of that loving of another is helping them to get to the point where they are able to live that. Our
Absolutely.
children cannot
Yep.
do that if they stay at
Yeah.
home.
Yes,
Absolutely.
exactly.
I guess, dare I say it, we are stand firmly against the entire incel culture to kind of take us on down a damn rabbit hole, which we love to do.
I don't know about that, but
Define.
I am
We've never
all
talked about
for
it.
pushing your kids out of the nest.
I know that's
Define incel.
involuntarily celibate. That
In other words, can't get a date.
the cultural phenomenon, if I would say so, that is currently upon us is a very strong group. It's essentially male of those who reject.
Right? Because most women, they tend to be voluntarily celibate, especially wives.
Well, your wife listens to this, so you should
It's
be
going to
careful.
be years before she gets to this episode.
Just
the way
reminding
she's
you at this
going.
point.
There
when
are
it-
many outrages
when it
between now
happens.
and then.
Yeah, there's going to be many. Martin has a great point. There's going to be many outrages between now and then. Yes.
All right, just reminding you.
Nothing.
Hey, I warned you. Whenever it comes, but
Well, not all wives.
But incels are those involved. It's
It's become an insult too.
It's become an insult because
Which is
essentially
interesting.
it's not just you're so ugly you can't get a date. It's really you won't work and change yourself. I'm not talking about physically.
Right, you are so unattractive as a person that nobody
and
wants
I'm
you.
not speaking about physically. That's only
Right, as a person.
It's
You
emotionally
refuse-
stunted.
That's damn straight. You're
Yes,
exactly
yes.
right. It's a refusal to change and be anything other than abhorrently selfish.
Which is interesting though. That whole thing about refusal to change,
Yeah.
because those who use it, and they tend to be, obviously, from what I have seen, it's mostly women who use the term against men they don't like.
That's right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. But
And-
because it's become a political term.
Yeah, it has.
Right.
But what I find interesting is that the way you just described that is that refusal to change. But I thought we weren't supposed to want people to change for us.
Well, the reason I'm bringing
I'm
this,
just saying.
the reason I think this fits exactly well with what we're talking about with Brother Andre's quotation here is the incel is by definition the improper / antithesis of what John Paul's talking about. Because they deliberately live only for themselves
Exactly.
and demand that everyone else conform to what they want. The reason they're involuntarily celibate is because they can't get a date with only those people that look like the / supermodel that et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that pornography has taught them is the only way to go. Okay, I'm being a little bit
I
overly
think that's a very
generational here.
narrow definition.
It is. I'm
of an incel.
I'm illustrating absurdity by being absurd.
I think that's a Not necessarily. I mean, it is very narrow. I don't know that obviously it's not the only reason somebody could be called an incel. Because,
No, it's correct.
because there's going to be a million reasons.
I'm trying to kind of make a point of the extremist version of
Sure.
that, and
And-
they are there. They're
and where I'm
absolutely there.
going with that is pointing out the extreme of absurdity of the whole definition, because again, so you shouldn't have to change
Right.
because I want you to, but this incel over here should have to change because you want him to.
I'm circling back.
No,
to,
I'm not saying
let me
you,
finish. Yeah,
but I
yeah.
mean,
I want to make sure.
the absurdity I see in that is that you are just as much of a selfish asshole as you're saying this guy over here is.
Hmm.
Is what that sounds like to me.
Well, what I'm
You
trying.
mean hypocrisy?
When we
Imperator?
focus,
Yes.
when we
Yes.
focus on ourselves, then yes, your definition is correct.
Ding, ding, ding. That's
Yes.
exactly. I'm trying to circle us back to the idea of concept of marriage.
Yes.
That's the entire
Yes. Somebody
stereotypical
under your,
incel.
somebody under your definition.
That's right, which
of
is the
incel,
stereotypical version. That's right.
would be incapable of a total giving of self.
Ding,
to the
ding,
other.
ding.
Yes.
And that's kind of where I'm going.
Yes.
I want to bring us back to is the fact that because all of us are married here, I would like to think on most days successfully so.
Yes.
Yes, we love our wives. Certainly, there's no doubt about any
Yeah.
of that. And we
Yeah.
can all look, and I'll go ahead and tell this: we can all look to each other's wives as models in many ways of doing it well,
Hmm.
right? In different ways, different times, etc.
Oh, yes.
I do it all the time. I sing the praises of every one of your all's wives to my wife, and she does too. You know, she says, "Wow, your wife," I'm pointing at Martin, is awesome for this. Your wife, of course, she's really good friends with your wife. So, very bad. Your wife, all these things here. And let's face it, the Imperatrix probably takes the cake because she is this ultimate expression of self-giving that we
Amen.
that we can see because we've seen it so much so with all of the Imperator's health issues. She's been there the whole time, and she's waited on him hand and
Yes.
And I
foot.
want to interrupt here and
That's
say,
because she wants to be the one to kill him.
Well, it's complicated. I get that. That's right.
I had the pleasure of meeting the Imperatrix for the first time.
You
and I-
had not. I'm sorry.
at
I
our
didn't
last-
realize that.
I'd met her one time when we went out to dinner in New Haven.
Right, but
That's
that
right.
was in a
But
crowd.
and
and,
I was a
yeah.
whole table away from her.
Mhm.
I got to have a very in-depth conversation with her.
Oh, you did.
in our
I didn't
last
know
recording
that.
conversation.
Yeah.
That woman is incredibly intriguing. I would
She
love
is-
to
she
get
is
to
the
know
s-
her more.
She is one of the strongest women I
Oh, yeah.
know. There's no question, and I don't use that word lightly. I mean,
Mhm.
she is an amazing, amazing person. I love the fact when we were out at Cajun's, all of our wives. I think was all of our wives. No,
No.
your wife was
No,
not there.
I wasn't there.
Mrs. Brother Andre couldn't make it.
That's right. But
Yes.
many of our wives were there and had a really great time together.
Yeah.
Which, hey, that's a good thing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's right. And we're very, very grateful. Again, I don't know where I'm going with all this, but I'm trying to simply say that the entire incel idea is the illustrative antithesis of what John Paul's quotation is meant to be and how we give to others. Because ultimately, in a one-on-one relationship, marriage is meant to be that highest form of self-giving,
Yes, and
Mhm.
life-fulfilling self-giving.
and to finish out that idea,
Not that
and-
it's that way every day, but in the aggregate, it's supposed to be.
Can I?
You were going to finish me.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was going to bring in a model that I use when I'm discussing the model of marriage of a sacramental marriage, of a tripod. And whenever we're involved in a giving of self where we're not focused on self, the model of a tripod would work in a triune model when we involve God, ourselves, and others. And when we start at the bottom where we're never farther away than we are when we begin. And as we move up the tripod, we grow closer to God, we grow closer to the other, and grow closer to ourselves. And
That is absolutely brilliant.
and as we reach the pinnacle of that, I think that is where we find the definition of the meaning of life and the definition of joy.
I think you're exactly right.
And so I want to leave us with that model and open up the panel for
So the
discussion.
I think it
seat
is-
of a bar stool.
Yes, indeed.
That's right. Yeah. Ultimately, that
God and the meaning of life is sitting on the top
in
of the bar
in a
stool.
proper human relationship,
Need we say more?
Marriage being being an ultimate illustration, but it can be in other ways too.
Marriage,
Parent-child,
the brotherhood.
brotherhood, all those things. As we grow closer together,
We grow closer to God.
closer to God, if we're doing it right, that is
Mhm.
the purpose, meaning, pinnacle.
So
life.
basically, what you're saying is I was right in the first place. It's all relationships.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I don't think. Did you say that, or did
No,
Mark
I did.
say that? Okay.
I would say, that is the biggest piece, again, of John Paul's quote here, is to take us beyond the clericalism and say this is more than just doing what your priest tells you to do.
Yeah,
It is
to-
about relationships.
So let me read this is a great segue. Let me read the full paragraph that quote comes from,
Please
because
do.
I think it gives a
We
little
love
more
context.
Yes, it gives a little bit more context. So the context is the World Day of Prayer for vocations, right? And by vocations, we generally mean for priests. I wish finally to address you, dear young. This is to youth, dear young people, and to repeat these words to you with affection. Be generous in giving your life to the Lord. Do not be afraid. A common theme with John Paul.
Yeah.
Be not afraid was his first words as Pope.
Absolutely.
You have nothing to fear because God is the Lord of history and of the universe. Let grow in you the desire for great and noble projects. I love that.
Oh, wow. Oh, absolutely.
Nourish a sense of solidarity. These are the sign of the divine action in your hearts. Place at the use of your communities the talents which Providence has lavished upon you. The more ready you are to give yourselves to God and to others, the more you will discover the authentic meaning of life. God expects much of you.
Oh, I think that is probably more telling than anything. That
That's the
last
money line?
sentence.
That's the end of that. It's your wherever you got the quote from. It stopped before that part.
Wow.
I think that is
It shows why he should be a doctor of a church.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
Very illustrates that. I mean, who can argue with that? Who can argue with that?
well. I think
And that
Martin
is
might
your
argue with
prescription right
that
there.
for
I
this
don't-
reason, because Martin wants everybody to get off his damn lawn.
Oh, well, but no.
Maybe not everybody.
We know
but
Martin
most
is
people.
that lovable curmudgeon that we know, but we also know that's a little bit of a facade. It's a
It is.
Scottish thing.
He's a
He-
big old teddy bear.
He is the
And I
one.
wish to
he wants
apologize.
the best for all the world. Always
So-
has.
But at a distance.
That's
Yeah.
okay. We
So-
celebrate that. Take a drink, gentlemen.
And maybe with some rock salt in your ass.
Only when necessary.
Well, only if you're in the house, because he recognizes that you can be arrested if you do it in the yard.
Yeah. So self-defense tip: if they're in the yard, you gotta leave them alone.
That's
Drag
correct.
them in the
That's right.
house.
See-
If you shoot them, make sure you drag them in the house.
That's right. Because
That's right.
I
And it
learned
helps
this
if
from
you-
Martin. That's right.
And it also helps if you got a throwdown piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my struggle here, again, not being immersed in the faith.
But you learn a hell of a lot when you listen. to this.
Yeah. So my struggle is exactly that: finding a relationship to others. What I have found that helps me the most is reminding myself to have gratitude
Uh-huh.
for those relationships I do have. I believe we would all be advocates. I know for sure the Imperator is, and I know you guys are advocates of find something that helps your mental health, whatever that thing is.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely.
And
That's on
Yeah.
you too. It has
Yeah.
to be. Nobody
Yeah.
else can do that for you.
so while I I struggle in my relationship with others and in service to others, the thing that keeps me from being in the Nietzschean abyss is I have gratitude for the time that we spend together. Even if I kind of make faces during the discussions of church politics,
well, I mean, it's
But,
it's not your milieu.
it's
Use that word
it's,
again. No.
I've given him two. I'll let this
we-
one.
we've
We've
let
done this
that
one
one
too
go.
much. That's right. I've been overusing
But
it.
it's just I'm not sure even Mrs. Martin really understands how much this means to me.
Oh, I can assure you, Mrs. Francis does not, and I want her to.
Yeah,
I really
it's
do
just
want her to.
it's not just goofing off with my buddies.
Well,
It is
this-
the bearing of soul to the other.
It is the lifting of my heart.
It is the recognition of unconditional love
Yeah, to be
because
here.
we
and
we,
just-
we have that for each
and
other.
I mean, it's
Period.
not that we are all like we think of each other as all perfect or anything. We do
we
not.
recognize. Well,
It's like there's always, but
We're
in the-
not.
in the end.
you are.
Yeah.
that's why you're the
Marcus
imperator.
Aurelius
That's
is.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the
Hmm.
imperator. You are.
Wow, you guys are really buttering up his asshole.
That's right. Like a biscuit, baby.
It's easier to slide in.
He's a biscuit. That's his new nickname,
Biscuit.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
Martin using the butter.
Oh yeah,
So-
margarine.
The margarine.
It's the only way Martin will use butter. I can assure you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just the time together is the greatest part of my life, and part of why this
Love you,
writing
brother.
experiment has been
Love you,
so
brother.
appealing is because it doesn't involve
Crying.
anybody else.
Well, hey,
Well,
as all
if it-
card-carrying introverts that I suspect we are, hell yeah, that's one of the reasons we like doing this. Is
Nobody
because
else is on the phone. Nobody's.
Nobody is
teamsing
commanding
me.
you to do it their way.
Yeah.
It doesn't involve others until you release your product to us, and then
Yes.
we will have a.
Yeah. Then I'm hoping you enjoy it.
Well, you're right, and we'll,
But
we'll
even
have,
if
we
even
will
if
have
it,
meaningful suggestions,
Yeah,
of
the-
course.
the
That's
even
right.
if it is utter trash, which I do not believe it will be.
No, I know better.
I would find it enjoyable because it will be an insight into you. That
I was going to say the
think-
same thing.
I think
Some
when you
things-
guys read it, you'll be like, only Martin would have written this.
Well, no, that, but I think we're going to discover things.
yeah.
we are.
yeah,
That's
we will
correct.
discover more of you.
Right.
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
writing
I mean,
is a
you'll
very
be-
personal thing, no
yeah,
matter,
you-
especially first novels.
Yeah.
You can't help but put a
Yeah.
lot of yourself into it.
And that's one of the reasons criticism is so hard. But as I've learned, it's so necessary because it's not really criticism; it's polishing. It's making
Well-
it better.
We've
If we
we've
can-
bastardized the word.
That's right. Yeah.
Criticism is not supposed to mean something negative.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
We-
It's
we
not
have
about
to say-
tearing it down. It's about
No,
improvement.
It's about
And
helping to build.
That's right. It's helping you learn things that you didn't know,
Yeah.
and you realize, oh, I got to do that.
Yeah.
do
I mean,
that.
I
That's
think
how I
when you-
learned it. And you
when,
know,
when you all read mine, you'll be like, "Yep, this is definitely a Martinism."
You know,
bring it on.
I believe Martin is going to be very close to having finished the first draft, because you're still on the first draft. By the time Imaginarium comes around,
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping is to be super close.
so
when
even if
Imaginary
it's
comes
not
around.
done with the first draft by then, since you are going for at
Yeah,
least
that's right.
part of it,
Absolutely. No, I've got
Um,
him the whole time. That's right.
right.
He's-
I'm,
but I
I'm
mean-
I'm on Team Red Moscow.
okay. Thank you.
So,
Thank you. That's right.
What
Yes,
I'm
sir.
hoping is that you will, even if you're not done with the rest of it, polish your first chapter. Spend a week or two prior. Come July 1st, make sure that first chapter is as polished as you feel you can get it, because I want you to submit that to the slush pile, whatever form that takes.
That's right.
Sometimes it's here's your first page, and they'll read it and critique it.
That's how I got my. publishing
Sometimes
contract, guys.
it's going to be here's your whole first chapter, and they'll talk. It just depends. Usually, it's just like the first page or two.
even if you're not finished with it,
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
don't make the goal. Get that done.
Yeah.
Get that first.
I think
first
you
chapter
will. It'll be hard.
edited tighter. It's really one of the reasons we do that, and I know you're thinking about this, Robert. Is the folks from Raconteur Press will be there, and they're in your genre.
Yeah.
They love to publish the genre you're writing in. Hell yes, you need to get in front of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to push you.
I was anticipating.
We're going to
that,
push
yeah.
you with a 45 Glock in the back. Talk to the fellas there and just say, "Hey, I got this. It's almost
45 or
done."
10 millimeter.
Well, I like 10 millimeter. I like 10 millimeter. That was the CIA's issue in
Yeah.
Red Moscow.
Yeah.
It comes up in there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Glock makes a model in 10 mil, but somebody does. Yeah.
Hey,
Smith
whatever it
does,
takes.
I
We'll go
know.
down to 9.
We know we're with you. We're there to circle back.
Yeah, I mean that's a big part of it. Is I know you guys are behind me,
yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
and I know you understand too that. Again, I don't always conform, so this doesn't always conform. So just kind of live with that.
Hey,
Understand that part of it.
That is a artistic thing.
Yeah.
That is not a structural thing. You're perfectly willing to realize, no, I shouldn't phrase it this way. I should phrase it that way, because of the conventions of the craft. That's you're not you don't have a problem with that. You're going to learn that. You don't know all that yet.
And my purpose in it's not public shaming, but publicly challenging you.
Yeah.
Is one out of love, absolutely, but also I'm really hoping that you'll be willing and able to take this next step, because it is the first step to an actual goal of publishing. Your goal so far has been, all right, I just want to get it done and out of my head. That end is in sight.
Yeah.
And it is concrete and real. That's short of getting hit by a bus.
Yep.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
We could publish it posthumously.
And we could. So the next step to me is, all right, now it's time to start thinking about this. It's possible. Let's let other people see it, and
I've been urging
get some
you that
reactions
from the beginning, but I know you've resisted that.
Yeah.
But you have, and I'm putting us on record here. When you finish the first draft, you are releasing it to us.
Yeah.
the
Oh, yeah,
Brotherhood.
yeah. You're the alphas.
That's
so-
right. Totally. And
if you don't want to let us see it until second, third, fourth draft, whatever.
No, it'll be when it's done.
Well,
Okay.
I was going to say,
When it's
and
done.
if you want to do it that way, because I'll give kudos to Robert. So much of what leapfrogged my version of Red Moscow to where it turned out to be is the fact that he alpha edited forensically, graphically, granularly, and I changed all that. That saved me a whole lot of work on doing that later, because that's the kind of stuff that editors, it's the first thing they're going to go to. You got to get that right.
Well, I think it depends on the editor, but I think a lot of them are going to be when you're in a slush pile. They're going to get turned off by that first because that's the kind of stuff that will stop them from getting to. Is this a good story?
It is a punctal. That's right. It has to be. You have to have a counterpunctal to pop that balloon that's in the way so they can see.
He's right.
Word boner.
Yeah, that's a good word,
Barney.
Barney.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, I think part of a little bit of my saving grace is I think my style is already pretty lean.
That's
Matters.
good.
I mean,
It absolutely matters.
I feel like what I've got zooms kind of.
Yeah,
fast.
but you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
We're going to point that out to you. So as alpha readers, we're going to say, yeah, you use this word too much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there'll be something.
I
there
didn't get
is.
that.
There
Robert
is.
pointed it out in 2 seconds.
Yeah, there is.
And
know
once
know
he
that's
did,
there.
I realized, oh hell, he's exactly right.
Yeah.
So I scrubbed that pretty quickly, and that saved me so people can get into the okay. Now let's get to the merits of what you're trying to say, not how you're trying to say it.
In a ways, it's backwards because that's usually because I mean you were into the double-digit drafts by the time you had released us because Cajun had seen the earlier drafts.
Yeah, but his was all meant to be developmental,
right?
Because he's not going to think that way.
Right.
You're going to think forensically. He's
Well,
not.
but even so, a lot of the we had worked through a lot of the developmental stuff with you as well.
And all of us deserve a little bit of that. I mean, I give Martin a lot of credit. He's the one that laid me out very quickly. Yeah, you cut the renal artery and they die immediately. That is a thing in Red Moscow.
You can't be facing like two people can't be facing and one of them be shot in the back of the head. Then you shoot both of them in the head.
Well, that's correct. He explained to me, as he very well put it, the bullet has to go somewhere. You shoot a guy in the head, and no, it's you can't have somebody else in the line of sight. So see, it's also it's a corporate thing, guys.
Right.
We look to each other to put us
absolutely.
together.
You know, the whole thing about, since we're on this, the whole thing about making sure that line editing stuff is taken care of so it's not a distraction. It's funny because it's ironic because it's backwards as far as how you go about how most people go about the writing. It's certainly how I go about it, and I think this is how Francis does it to a large degree. You get your first draft down, and then you start fixing the big stuff. You reset this bone over here so that it's more aligned into the skeleton properly.
Yeah,
and the really nitpicky stuff, because I mean I did a whole bunch of stuff at one time with yours.
yes.
Whereas going through my own stuff,
One time was all it took. That's
but
right.
Going through when I do my own, I'm not doing. I'm not looking at as many things. I probably would have approached yours a little bit differently than I would have then.
Hey, we all learn along the way.
That whole, making sure that the line edits are exactly right, and that to me, that's gonna be like one of the last things I do.
Yeah.
Because to me, I have fixed the words, generally speaking, and now I'm fine tuning to make sure nothing distracts from the editor or the reader. But if you don't do that, that's the first thing that's going to stop them from reading your work.
And we have a hard deadline with Imaginarium for Martin here to make
Yes.
sure that, let's fix that. Hey, I'm suggesting send us your first chapter only. Let us help you with that.
Yeah, I'll think about that.
You really
Let me
should.
consider that.
That is a very polite way of saying no.
No,
he gets it.
Here's the
I know he
thing,
gets it
I've already learned so much without you all even seeing it.
because we talked about it.
Because
Absolutely.
we've talked. I mean, even the what we did, helping you out
Yeah.
is, you know what? If a scene doesn't have a point, if it's not contributing to the,
That's a
the-
Robertism. Absolutely.
mean,
He's exactly
it's
it.
just like, well, why am I even including this? Let's not even think about
Right.
this.
If it
This
doesn't
is-
move the story forward, it does not
if-
belong.
If there's not some kind of weenie to it here, where the
God, he loves it. Go ahead and hit
Oh
the
my
word.
God.
Hit the button. Hit the
Is it-
button.
Word boner.
Yeah, let's give him that
I
one.
mean,
That's a little ironic and double entendre, but yes.
But
yeah,
we're all about
like-
that this time. That's
Mhm.
right. It seems like
every scene's got to have a weenie to it. It's got to have where it contributes something to the piece, to
you're
where
exactly
you're going.
right. You're exactly
It's
right.
got-
That's craft,
It's
dude.
just like, if it doesn't, why am I? Or if I think of it and it's like, well, then it's got to have some tie, and then I'll have this. I'll have an idea. Oh, I know how I can tie it in.
Uh-huh.
Boom! I've got something.
Somehow something
So-
always comes.
so
I,
now
I don't
I've
understand it. It really doesn't. But
I've got,
somehow something always
like,
comes.
All these pieces now that I didn't even plan on are interweaving in here.
Yes, and that is
It's like super fun.
that is the current point of how I'm approaching the draft I'm on. It's technically the third draft, but so much is rewritten. It's almost just the second draft.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm making sure that the pieces flow,
Yeah.
that they connect properly, that the proper things are woven into the whole tapestry of the
Yeah.
manuscript. And again, to me, that's big picture stuff. Now, how you execute it, obviously, is the little picture
Yeah.
stuff, but the
But
details.
we'll get to that later. But we
Yeah.
want to do.
But-
do want to do at least your first page. At least. Your
I would
first page.
I would be honored
me-
to have
give
the
me-
opportunity to do that to help you
Yeah.
through the slush pot.
And both of us could do that because that's what got me my contract, guys. You know that.
Yeah.
You know that, but you haven't experienced that. Saying,
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to having the chance to talk to Raconteur, Three Ravens.
yeah. Now,
Jumpmaster. I mean, I really,
Jumpmaster won't be there.
Jump Monster will be there. That's my publisher. They're not going to be there. They're doing other things, and a lot of times they'll say, hey, we'll go 2 or 3 years, and then we'll go elsewhere, and we'll come back. And stuff
And
like
actually,
that.
I'm not. Is Three Ravens going to have a booth this year?
No.
I didn't
They're
think so because I
not.
knew they were taking some time off
They're
from
taking
the
some- yeah, that's
from
right.
the,
We
the
talked,
circuit.
we talked to the guy there. All that being said,
I think they're going to be there though,
Yeah.
aren't they?
not.
well,
to my knowledge.
but I know I
a
have
table.
access to them.
Well,
Yes,
I
you
have
do,
a
yes.
table at the event
Yeah.
myself, so we all get a place to hang out in the arena. Hydra Publication is definitely going to be there because he's
Oh,
always
yes.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tony's great. I love talking to him
He's a great fella.
because he is one of those guys that is so willing to just talk on a peer level,
That's right,
and
absolutely.
I love that.
He recognized that. First question he asked me when we saw him left, because I had submitted my draft to him, and he never got back to me. And he kind of saw me at the thing. He says, "Yeah, did you ever sell that?" I said, "Yeah, I did. The guy's next door to you." He says, "Oh, that sounds great." It's like, hey, that's kind of the way that goes.
And I know there's going to be some
Mhm.
some agent types there as well. People,
Yes.
The one agent has also published, so she's like a writer and an agent.
That's
So I mean,
that's
she's going to know the inside and outside. So,
Almost all the small press guys are like that, though. They are
Yeah.
authors as well as
that's right. They-
publishers,
yeah, my guys,
agents as well.
my guys at Jumpmaster Press. I mean, Kyle, God bless him, he's my editor.
yeah,
He's got 15, 16 books published.
yeah,
I mean, he and Gene, who are the guys at the publisher, they write their own stuff. They put some stuff, and it's damn good. Okay, folks, laying out, order some stuff from jumpmasterpress.com. You'll always find it to be great. Everything that they put out is fantastic stuff for you. But anyway, that's just
anyway, so yes, so bravery. I'll work on my bravery. But again, I see.
get us your first chapter. That's all we
Yeah.
got to do.
uh,
First scene is fine.
Yeah, that's better. First
Well, I
thing
mean,
is-
basically, it's all scene based. The whole thing is
Hey,
scenes.
and I'll tell you, I think I told you guys that I'm doing a session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought.
Yes,
I
we have
did.
not talked about that on the show though. Promote your session.
Well, yeah, that's right. I am doing a session in Imagineering. Imagineering takes place 16th, 17th, 18th. That middle weekend.
It's the
in
third
July.
weekend of
Third
July.
weekend of July here in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm going to be there as I'm going to have a booth with my book, and you guys are going to help me man it anyway. And it's just kind of have a place.
You'll be there as R.C. Reed, not
RC
the other
Reed.
guy.
That's correct. That's right. Yes,
Not another name.
as my pen name. That's how I'm registered, and I'm going to be giving a session, teaching a session. And Andre knows this. As with what we do, presenting is in our blood. I mean, Robert. I mean, come on. That's we're preachers. We
If
get
you
Right.
can't stand up and speak in front of people, hang up your stole.
That's exactly right. So I'm giving a session on the craft of writing, and it's entitled "All You Need Is Word." Is all about how Microsoft Word will do everything you need. You don't have to pay anything for it, and because you've already got it, because all of us do, and how I can show you a few techniques that have worked for me that have made this easy. So you don't have to worry about, well, I don't have the ability to start because that's too much. No. You got Word. You can do this. Let me show you how.
Because people forget, you can use any Microsoft application, the web version, for free,
That's right.
and that's
Absolutely. So
OneDrive is free.
that's right.
It is.
It's part. That's part of the subject that I'll be talking about. We'll be talking about all that sort of stuff. I expect you all there because Her Majesty. I don't think I've told you guys this. Her Majesty is going to be there. I haven't told her. She has insisted on being there. She says, "Why wouldn't I be there for when you present?"
Again,
Perfect.
a great definition of the model of marriage.
Model of marriage. That's right. She's
Giving
gonna
of self to the other.
my son and my daughter, middle daughter's not going to be there. She was there last year. She says, you let the other two do it. So son and middle daughter and eldest daughter are going to be there, along with you all guys.
and Cajun.
And Cajuan's going to be there for sure. That's right.
I presume the Imperator will not, but you're always welcome at Imaginarium.
That's right. Yeah, you've got.
I'm going to try.
Oh, that'd be great.
Uh,
Yeah. Make sure you
but-
register ahead of time because it's not limited, but you do.
There are hotel rooms involved.
Well,
so
you can't get in without a badge. Let me boil it down. You gotta be registered to get in.
Yeah, I mean, you can hang out in the lobby. Nobody's going to be able to stop you doing that, but you can't go into the main dealer room.
Dealer's room,
and you
or
can't
any
go
of the
into any of the
sessions.
sessions.
That's right.
I have a printer.
and a scanner.
Of course, he said that. Absolutely. We do not advocate any of that to any of our Imaginarium folks. My publisher was very clear because they said they're not going to be there, and they told me, he says, we know how to sell books, so before you get there, make sure you talk to us. But he said also, you're not there to sell books, although I will be selling them.
Yeah.
You're there to build fans.
Yeah, you're there to sell yourself. Sell,
That's right.
sell
And,
the series.
and so yeah, I'm gonna be out there. If you get a chance, enter theimaginarium.com. I believe is the
It is.
site.
yes.
So I'd love to see you there. I mean, I have twisted Martin's arm and made him.
Yes,
do
we
that.
have worked on this since
We
I
worked on
first
this
went
how
there.
long for this?
Yes.
2 years now to finally get Martin there, because we love you.
Because I'm going to be on Team Moscow.
That's
and
right. Team Red Moscow.
My main objective is to build fans for RC Reed.
Hey, we're all there.
That's my main
It's
mission.
true.
The side quest.
Yeah, because
The side quest will be to worry about me.
well, we're
And-
also
and
one thing
he'll-
I've
he'll-
learned is we're supposed to always have the booth manned. So between all of us, we'll make this happen.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
I'll come
that
hawk
and-
books.
Oh yeah, well,
That and Martin's
Bring it
going
on,
to be
brother. I'd love to
offering
have you there.
kisses of that wonderful mustache of his. You'll get kisses for $1.
well, there is a precedent for that, as Bourbon Fresh will tell us.
Will
That's right.
I will let ladies twist the mustache.
Well, I mean,
Throw the little curl
Okay,
there.
I'm telling you,
mustache twisting. For
I'm
$1.
telling you, it still is in my memory when because I think it was just you and I were there. I don't know if Robert, if you were there. We were at Bourbon Fresh first year.
No,
The
I was
first year
there.
of Bourbon
First year,
Fest.
and I don't
Yeah, he
remember if
saw it.
I don't remember if the Imperator was there, but
I was there.
okay,
He
you
saw
were
it.
all right. So
He saw
a
it.
very attractive lady, very attractive lady, about our age, comes up. She says, "I love your mustache. Let me twirl it." And if I'd have had false teeth, boys, I'd have spit them out because I saw the look in Martin's face. I saw the look. He goes, "Oh my God, how many fantasies of mine have started this way?" It was
Please
an amazing
don't tell us.
Please don't tell. It was an amazing moment.
That was
I
before the beard too.
That was
so
absolutely before the beard.
That
but
was
For
just
listeners who
mustache.
can't
and,
see,
and in fairness, she reached out and she did it.
I don't think her husband was very happy about it because he was walking up behind her. But
Well, it's the burn
since
test.
I didn't grab her, I
She-
think he was okay.
Well, yeah,
Martin's
that's right.
facial hair looks like
And
Santa
she
Claus.
was attractive enough. She was very, very attractive. Let's just say that. Very attractive.
Mhm.
And that's Bourbon Fest draws the very attractive ladies. It does.
It
It
does.
depends on what side of the bottle you're on. The end of the bottle,
Well,
they're all attractive.
Yeah.
I was going to say, yes, they all
Well,
become attractive by the
I
by
believe
2
I
a.m.
believe that was Mickey Gilley in 1978. Oh, the girls get better at closing time, prettier at closing time.
Yeah,
They do,
the
yes.
bottom of the bottle. But let me tell you something. That first year we went, whoo doggies.
That's right. Well,
There
that's
were some pretty ladies.
that was the one, and one of them was the one
Yeah.
that it had to twirl your mustache.
All right. So
Speaking of pretty ladies, got a shout out to the Ponyboy Sling couple. They have really been expanding their
Oh
presence.
yeah, that's right. Absolutely. We
Mhm.
we had lunch with them at the second
Yes.
this past year.
Weren't they supposed to send us a case of
some samples.
sample?
Yeah, they never did work out after we emailed them. But still,
Well, I get it. I
Mike
mean,
and
it's all
Janelle
coming.
Bass, big success to them. It is
Yes.
found now in a lot of Kroger stores.
Oh, has it
Fantastic.
made it to Kroger's?
It's in the Mount Washington Kroger and a lot
Would-
cheaper than
well,
Liquor Bar.
I was gonna say how
A
much
lot.
because
Just
$10
like
bucks.
Jake's sausage.
total wine is $12.
once
That's
you
even
can get
better.
it, you
Yeah.
can get it. That's right.
Yeah, Jake's sausage, which we partook of this morning.
See,
quite tasty.
You did do that, okay? Because you guys don't know. He and I had a conversation off script about you were wanting to serve sausage, but you didn't want to serve anything except the one that we had out at Cajun's house. And I said, Jake's sausage, it's available at your Kroger, and obviously you found it, right?
I did. It
It's
was
the only
available
one
at
we buy
Middletown
anymore.
Kroger's.
Is Jake's sausage. So
That-
whenever we do sausage
Mhm.
It mu-
sliders at Studio M,
It
it's also
must be Jake's sausage.
Yeah.
It's again a shout out. Shit, we're going all over this thing here, boys. Maybe we should wrap this up.
Well,
Martin.
let me wrap it up
Andre.
by Jake's sausage.
by encouraging all the listeners to seek joy in your life, which is the meaning of life as I define it, through serving God and serving others.
All right.
Well, hard to argue with that.
That's right.
Or
Absolutely.
you can
Yeah.
get off my lawn.
If that gives you joy, definitely get off of Martin's lawn because it will give him joy.
Yes.
But just don't forget, he can't shoot you because you're not inside the house. I'll just lay that out there. That's right.
Exactly.
That's right. You know.
Unless you come to his yard already armed.
Oh, yes. There you go.
Okay, that
I mean,
an
that has
interesting.
now become a thing. Just a word of
That-
caution, listeners. That is, people follow you home from restaurants.
Yes, that's
Oh, really?
Especially when they know you, or a restaurant that is serving alcohol. They think you've had
or
some.
particularly a high end.
Ah,
Yes.
yes.
Did you watch the final season of Bosch? Not to go down a see.
Well,
knew-
I
knew where
haven't.
he's going.
I
this
haven't.
really a
but
thing?
I know. Oh yes, they will follow you home from restaurants.
That's right.
Especially if you like valet parked and it's high end and they know you've been drinking, and they will pull up behind you in your driveway and jump you there.
And
So
that
I
is
do
part-
SDRs coming home from a restaurant.
That is part of the final season of Bosch Legacy that you just
Mhm.
watched. I'm assuming
Well, Mrs. Martin did.
you didn't watch it, Wisha, with
I
her.
did not watch it. No, but I.
Dude,
But it
dude.
happens
My-
in real life.
Mrs. Robert and I start watching things
Yeah.
occasionally because I've given up. And even then, she will either abandon it or she will just keep going. So we almost never watch anything together because
By the way,
Yeah.
and if it's
I,
any
I recognize that because you've spoken of that often
yes.
shout out for Jack Reacher if you haven't watched
Oh,
this
yes.
season.
too. Oh,
Yeah,
I
she's been
love
watching
the
Reacher,
series
too.
of Reacher. Alan Richardson, fantastic fella. But
Way better than Tom Cruise's. Reacher.
smack yourself for not watching the last season of Bosch Legacy.
I know. Someday.
You recognize that Michael Connelly is one of the greatest authors
Right.
in your genre
Yeah.
that we've ever seen.
Mhm.
So learn from him. Bow down to the master. Andre?
So, Francis, I think we come to a conclusion of this wonderful discussion of John Paul II's
Oh, yes.
quote. What comes next?
Episode 250, guys.
A milestone.
Yeah, milestone. That's where we're going to go next time. We're actually going to hit that rather completely
Are we doing,
arbitrary number that
Yeah.
ends in a 0.
Are we
No.
doing mirror?
No,
snakes and
no, the
otters?
guys from Serpents and Beavers will not be making a return appearance.
I have no problem with
I
that.
have no problem with that.
Bring
They
out
have,
the agonizer.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you should hit the agonizer. Hail the Empire.
Word boner.
Oh, wrong one.
That's right. No,
Hail the Empire.
Hail the Empire. Hail the Empire. We will not be seeing them again. I don't see it anytime in the future. That's just
So what is actually next then?
we are actually we're gonna it's 250. I guarantee you we're going to do a little bit of a retrospective. We always do that sort of thing.
Sure. Okay.
But and it's in I'll give kudos to Martin for coming up with the idea. We're going to talk about the age of reason. You might say the Enlightenment, but I don't think that's quite a fair way of putting it
Okay.
together.
Sure.
But we're going to talk about the age of reason that began in the 1600s and has brought us essentially to where we are today. What is the preeminence of the concept of reason?
God help us.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's
Yeah.
right. And how it
I think
is-
there's a severe lack of reason, but okay.
that's absolutely see. We're going to explore all of that stuff and how it is not. I mean, I know this is going to come up. How it is not meant to be an antithesis to faith, but in fact they work best together. So you know us. We're going to do this, and we're going to do this well. So be here next episode.
We hope you enjoyed another pointless discussion of eternal questions. Remember, new episodes drop every second and fourth Friday at 6 a.m. Eastern, just in time for your morning commute. And every fifth Friday, we drop a special Hoopajube episode. Spread the word we are on all the major platforms, and leave us a review. That helps others find us. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, as well as our website, snakesandotters.com. Join us next time. Same snake time, same otter channel.